They appeared to be the ideal family, but the reality was shockingly strange. Today, we delve into another chilling case. If you find these stories intriguing, please support my channel by subscribing and hitting the bell icon for notifications. Today's case echoes themes you might recall from the renowned sitcom Friends. In season 8, episode 9, there's a scene where Joey asks Monica for a slice of pie. At first, he requests just a tiny piece, but quickly changes his mind, urging her to cut a normal piece. This seemingly innocuous exchange about greed sets the stage for our story. We turn our attention to Newport News, Virginia, where a solemn ceremony marked the tragic end of Corey Voss, a young and promising U.S. Navy officer. His funeral was attended by Navy officials, fellow sailors, and a community that came to pay their respects. Corey was a dedicated husband and father whose life was brutally cut short in his truck, the assailant leaving no chance for survival. As the investigation unfolded involving both the Marine Police and local law enforcement, the community mourned a bright soul whose life was devastatingly lost. At the heart of the mourning crowd was Corey's mother, Barbara Wilson, visibly shattered by grief. Beside her, a figure of profound sorrow, Corey's widow, Catherine, whose tears bathed her husband's grave. To the casual observer, Catherine's despair was the natural reaction of a wife robbed of her partner. Yet, beneath her display of agony was a web of deceit, hinting at a love that was anything but simple. This narrative of grief masked a darker reality filled with greed, selfishness, and lies, echoing the greed hinted at in Friends. Born in 1977 in Berwyn, Illinois, Corey Allen Voss's life story was about to unravel in ways that none could foresee. Corey Voss grew up in a nurturing and affluent environment surrounded by love and attention. Despite this supportive background, he was somewhat reserved and struggled with communication. During his teenage years, he fell in with the wrong crowd, leading to frequent trouble. His mother often voiced her belief that Corey was destined for greatness if he could just make it to 18 without getting into serious trouble. Her words seemed almost prophetic as Corey managed to steer his life in a positive direction after graduating from high school. With aspirations of military service, Corey pursued higher education and earned a bachelor's degree. His determination paid off when he joined the Navy, quickly adapting to military life at the Norfolk Naval Base in southeastern Virginia. The challenges of military life did little to deter him. He thrived, fueled by an inquisitive mind, an unyielding work ethic, and a resilient spirit. Corey was driven by a desire to make his parents proud, and his rapid advancement through the ranks demonstrated his potential. His superiors took note of his achievements, acknowledging his promising future. Colleagues often remarked that Corey took to the Navy like a duck to water, a testament to his natural fit within the military environment. It was during a vacation in 1999 that Corey's life took a pleasant turn. He met Catherine Wiggins, a woman whose charisma and exotic accent captivated him. Catherine, or Kat as she preferred, revealed she was originally from Ukraine but had moved to the United States during her high school years. The chemistry between them was undeniable, and they soon began a romantic relationship. Their whirlwind romance quickly deepened, and after just 3 months of dating, they received surprising news. Catherine was pregnant. In 2000, the couple married, a decision driven by love rather than solely the impending arrival of their child, as Corey's mother, Barbara Wilson, would later confirm. That same year, the couple welcomed a daughter, Casey, and a year later, a son named Corey Jr. The Voss household epitomized the classic American dream: a harmonious marriage, loving children, and financial stability. This idyllic setup allowed Kat the luxury of focusing on homemaking and raising their children without the need for additional income. With a comfortable home and a seemingly perfect family life, the Vosses enjoyed the fruits of Corey's successful career. Yet, beneath this facade of domestic bliss, layers of complexity hinted at undercurrents that would later challenge the very foundation of their existence. Catherine Voss lived a life of luxury, cruising around in a BMW and always appearing impeccably dressed. Her husband Corey utterly idolized her, dedicating himself tirelessly to the welfare of their family. By 2005, Corey's steadfast commitment to his military career paid off with a promotion to officer rank. Yet, this career advancement meant he was often away on business trips, which posed the only significant challenge to their family life. Despite the distance, the couple managed beautifully. The absence made their reunions joyous, keeping their relationship vibrant and strong. Corey made it a priority to devote all his spare time to his children, a commitment that left a lasting impression on them. They later reminisced that their father had given them his utmost, nurturing them with love and presence. On January 27, 2007, Corey was assigned to the USS Elrod. When he returned home from a prolonged mission, Catherine planned a special evening to welcome him back. On the night of April 27th, she arranged a romantic candlelit dinner. After tucking the children into bed, Catherine realized she had forgotten to prepare cash for the kids' school lunches. She asked Corey to withdraw some money from the nearest ATM. Despite his weariness, Corey didn't hesitate to fulfill his wife's request. At about 11:30 p.m., he climbed into his truck and drove off into the night, never to return home. The hours ticked by, and with each passing moment, Catherine's worry intensified. She frantically dialed his cell phone repeatedly, only to be met with silence. Desperation growing, she even contacted the dispatch office at the naval base to check if he had been unexpectedly summoned back to work, but they had no information. As dawn approached on April 28th, with hospitals checked and no word of Corey, a distressed Mrs. Voss finally called the emergency services. She explained her situation in a trembling voice, hoping for any news of an accident involving her husband. The dispatcher confirmed there were no reports of an incident involving Corey and advised her to contact the police without delay. Catherine heeded the dispatcher's advice and arrived at the police station within an hour. Upon hearing her account, the officers immediately initiated an investigation into Corey's disappearance. The search efforts began in earnest just hours after Catherine's report was filed. By midday, a crucial tip came in from a concerned citizen. She reported spotting a suspicious truck in a parking lot with a man inside who seemed to be in an unnatural position and unresponsive. The concerned passerby's attention had been drawn not only to the truck, but specifically to the man in the driver's seat, who appeared lifeless. Alarmed by what she saw, she promptly reported it to the authorities. The vehicle's description matched that of Corey's missing truck, heightening the urgency of the situation. When patrol officers arrived at the given location, a supermarket parking lot, they discovered the vehicle belonged to Corey. Tragically, the man in the driver's seat was indeed Corey Voss, and he was deceased. An initial examination revealed a grim scene. His body had sustained multiple gunshot wounds, 3 to his abdomen and 1 each to his arm and chest. The circumstances surrounding the military man's death were mysterious. He had merely gone out to withdraw cash from an ATM, yet here he was, found murdered. The initial theory was robbery, yet this hypothesis quickly crumbled as nothing appeared to be stolen, not even Corey's expensive wedding ring. Furthermore, there were no signs of a struggle inside the vehicle, leading investigators to suspect a deliberate murder. The question of who would want a naval officer dead and why loomed large. The investigation began with a deep dive into Corey's personal life and his immediate social circle, starting with interrogations of those closest to him, including his wife, Catherine, aged 32. When informed of her husband's death, Catherine became hysterical. Officers suggested medical attention, but she eventually regained enough composure to speak. She meticulously recounted the events leading up to Corey's disappearance, a romantic dinner, the seemingly mundane request for him to visit the ATM, and her frantic efforts to locate him afterwards. Her detailed narrative set the stage for further questioning about any potential enemies or motives that might explain this tragic event. Catherine was adamant in her response. No. She described her husband as a non-confrontational and amiable person. Unlikely to have enemies, she expressed confidence in their mutual trust and the apparent perfection of their marriage, a union that, at first glance, seemed flawless. However, the investigators knew that motives like jealousy or greed often lurk behind the facade of such perfect relationships, necessitating a closer examination of Catherine herself. Corey's family held him in high esteem, uniformly attesting to his character and the affection he garnered from those around him. Yet, as the investigation deepened, startling revelations about Catherine emerged. Corey's mother disclosed that Catherine had been dishonest at the outset of her relationship with Corey. She was already married and had a daughter from that union. When Catherine discovered she was pregnant with Corey's child, she came clean to her then husband and swiftly divorced him, leaving her first daughter to be raised by her grandmother. Barbara, Corey's mother, admitted that the news had been shocking at the time. However, by then, Catherine was already divorced and Corey, deeply in love, was looking forward to fatherhood. Barbara stressed that aside from this turbulent revelation, Catherine had been an exemplary daughter-in-law. Prompted by these disclosures, the authorities decided to delve further and contacted Catherine's ex-husband, Steve Larson. Larson shared that he and Catherine had met in high school and had a passionate relationship that quickly led to an unplanned pregnancy at 17. Facing opposition from their parents, they eloped. The family eventually accepted their marriage, particularly once Catherine's pregnancy became known. Larson, who was also a military man often absent on duty, returned from a trip to find his life upturned. Catherine confessed her affair with Corey and declared their marriage over. Steve Larson, Catherine's ex-husband, revealed that he might have forgiven her infidelity had she not been so resolute in ending their marriage. Describing their life together, he portrayed it as a constant struggle, frequently centered around financial disagreements. Catherine always seemed to need more money than they had, casting a shadow over her previously unblemished image. As investigators probed further, they consulted with Corey's colleagues and the base management, all of whom spoke highly of him. Officer Voss was revered as a model serviceman who had ascended the ranks on his own merit, earning numerous commendations along the way. His colleagues unanimously dismissed the idea that anyone from the workplace could harbor enough animosity to murder him. To expedite the investigation, the Marine Police collaborated with the Land Police, setting up a hotline for the public to report any potentially relevant information. The community was deeply shaken by the officer's death, prompting widespread demand for swift justice. This urgency was echoed in the media, which speculated wildly about the circumstances surrounding the crime. Meanwhile, detectives broadened their investigative scope, collecting data about Corey's family life while simultaneously pursuing other leads. They obtained surveillance footage from a store near the ATM Corey visited on the night of his murder. The footage confirmed Corey's presence at the designated time and showed him attempting to withdraw money 3 times, only to find insufficient funds in his account. After his unsuccessful attempts to access cash, Corey returned to his truck. The footage captured a critical moment. A man dressed entirely in black entered the passenger side of Corey's vehicle. Although the camera did not clearly capture the passenger's face, it showed him pulling a gun and pointing it at Corey as soon as he sat down. The truck then drove off, heading towards another supermarket and disappearing into a blind spot of the surveillance. The evidence suggested that the intruder's motive extended beyond robbery. If theft had been the goal, he would have taken valuables that were readily accessible in the truck. Instead, the act appeared to be one of premeditated murder, with no signs of anyone else nearby who could have intervened. Search for additional witnesses pressed on. A significant breakthrough in the case came when Ashley Doyle, a friend of Catherine Voss, contacted the investigation hotline. This call would pivot the direction of the inquiry, hinting at deeper layers of deceit within Catherine's life, potentially linked to Corey's tragic end. Ashley Doyle provided investigators with a startling insight into Catherine Voss's life, revealing that the widow was not as she appeared. According to Ashley, Catherine led a double life, especially when Corey was away on business. She frequented bars, posing as a Ukrainian native, a stark contrast to her actual background as a lifelong resident of Newport News with Native American parents. Catherine's fabricated foreign accent was just a part of her elaborate ruse to garner constant male attention. Her deception was wildly successful, earning her numerous admirers. For her dates, Catherine often left her children with relatives or, more disturbingly, sedated them with an antihistamine that had sedative effects, ensuring they were asleep and out of the way. During this time, she was free to live out her alternate persona. In late 2006, Catherine's romantic adventures led her to Michael Draven, whom she met on. Michael presented himself as a successful, affluent photographer, a narrative supported by his MySpace profile, which initially captivated Catherine. However, the illusion quickly dissolved. Michael was far from the wealthy photographer he claimed to be. He lived in a simple trailer in Newport News with his mother and had no real source of income. Despite the stark reality clashing with her expectations, Catherine, deeply infatuated, chose to overlook these deceits and continued the relationship. While Corey was deployed, Michael frequently visited the Voss home, embedding himself into Catherine's life. During one of their conversations, Catherine confided in Ashley about her dreams of divorce, implying that she was prepared to alter her lifestyle significantly if she and Corey were to separate. Ashley expressed concerns about this, especially considering the drastic changes that would follow. Ashley's revelations cast a new light on Catherine's character and her relationship with Corey, framing her as deceitful and mercenary, a stark contrast to the devoted wife facade she maintained publicly. These insights led to new questions. Could Michael have been motivated to eliminate Corey to clear his path to Catherine? Or was there a deeper conspiracy between Catherine and Michael to remove what they might have seen as a marital obstacle? Further investigation into Michael Draven revealed a significant connection to Catherine Voss. Thanks to their active social media presence, it was discovered that they were frequently in contact. Just days after Corey's untimely death, Michael posted pictures on social media with Catherine and her children, referring to her daughter Casey as "my daughter." This post indicated his aspirations to become a permanent fixture in their lives, positioning himself as the prospective stepfather and husband. Unable to meet with Michael directly, detectives turned to his mother for insights. During their conversation, she divulged that her son had legally changed his name from Anthony Neff to Michael Anthony Draven, inspired by the protagonist of the film The Crow, a character he idolized and aspired to emulate. His ambition stretched to a career in the film industry, though reality painted a less glamorous picture: minor roles in low-budget movies and a part-time job delivering newspapers. Additionally, he earned money by participating in clinical trials, testing new drugs and medical treatments. To better understand the financial dynamics within the Voss family, detectives examined recent banking transactions. It was revealed that Catherine had received a $100,000 payout as a military spouse shortly after Corey's death. She claimed to use this money for a trip with her children, framing it as a chance for them to escape and recover from their loss. However, investigation into her spending revealed the trip was less about solace for her children and more a romantic getaway with Michael. Financial records showed that within weeks, Catherine had spent nearly the entire sum. Her expenditures included stays at upscale hotels, meals at high-end restaurants, designer clothes, luxury cosmetic, and lavish jewelry. By the time she returned home, her account balance had plummeted to just $900. Further financial scrutiny revealed Catherine's anticipation of additional substantial payouts. She was expecting to receive a $400,000 life insurance payout alongside child welfare benefits of $300 monthly per child. Additionally, she was entitled to a survivor benefit ranging from $500 to $700 monthly for life. These insights painted a picture of a woman who, far from grieving, was strategically securing her financial future. Catherine's penchant for spending was corroborated by her aunt, Carol Wiggins. Carol recounted that Catherine had inherited $25,000 after her grandmother's death, which visibly thrilled her. The day the money was received, they went on a shopping spree. Catherine was generous, lavishing gifts not only on herself, but also on Carol and her children. However, this financial windfall was short-lived. Within 3 weeks, Catherine had exhausted all the funds. As the investigation deepened, suspicion increasingly converged on the newly widowed Catherine. Aware of her financial maneuvers, the police advised the insurance company to withhold any payouts until the conclusion of the investigation. Unaware of this development, Catherine contacted the insurer daily, lamenting her dire financial straits and accumulating debts, conspicuously omitting her recent lavish expenditures of $100,000. Amid growing suspicions but lacking concrete evidence linking Catherine and her boyfriend Michael to Corey's murder, detectives decided to implement a wiretap. The intercepted conversations revealed the couple's anxiety about their future, their eagerness to receive the insurance money, and plans to leave the country, yet they never explicitly confessed to any involvement in Corey's death. During one of their discussions, the name David Runyon was mentioned, a figure who seemed to be more than just an acquaintance. Focusing on this new lead, the investigation shifted to Morgantown, West Virginia, where David resided. It was discovered that David and Michael had known each other from participating in clinical trials at a research facility. David, a former soldier and skilled marksman, had the expertise to handle firearms proficiently, raising suspicions about his potential involvement. 8 months post-murder, surveillance was initiated on David. His actions increasingly drew the investigators' attention, leading to a warranted search of his residence. Among various items, detectives found a note with a shopping list that included seemingly innocuous items, but also a tarp, boots, a black hooded sweatshirt, and a knife, items that eerily paralleled elements potentially used in Corey's murder. Furthermore, a .357 Magnum pistol was found in David's possession, missing exactly 5 rounds, the same number discharged at Corey. A detailed inspection of his vehicle unearthed a map marked with a route to Newport News and Corey's name handwritten on it. In the glove compartment, photos of Corey and Catherine were discovered, tying David more closely to the case and suggesting a deeper conspiracy than initially apparent. After the search, David Runyon was taken into custody, and the gun found in his house was immediately sent for ballistics testing. The results confirmed that it was the weapon used to murder Corey Voss. During the interrogation, Runyon maintained a composed demeanor, but denied any involvement in the crime or any connection with Michael and Catherine. When pushed further, he clammed up and requested a lawyer. Sensing an opportunity, investigators employed a strategic move. They made no secret of David's arrest, carefully observing the reactions of the other suspects. Phone conversations between Michael and Catherine were monitored, revealing Michael's escalating fear. At one point, he expressed his terror so vividly, he mentioned he was so frightened he might throw himself off a bridge. This reaction prompted authorities to act swiftly to prevent any potential escape attempts. Michael was arrested without incident. He appeared despondent and did not resist. During his interrogation, officers suggested it would be in his best interest to confess and alleviate his guilty conscience. Overwhelmed, Michael broke down and admitted to plotting Corey's murder. He disclosed that in January 2007, Catherine expressed her desire to divorce Corey, but worried about sustaining her lifestyle without his financial support. It was then that she proposed they kill Corey to claim the life insurance payout that would secure their future. Reluctant to work and seeing no other solution, Michael agreed to the plan but admitted he lacked the nerve to commit the murder himself. Instead, he turned to David Runyon, offering him $20,000 for the job. According to Michael, Catherine's role was crucial. She was to allay Corey's suspicions by arranging a romantic dinner and then sending him to the ATM under a fabricated pretext late at night, setting him up to be intercepted by the hired assassin. David, fully prepared with the necessary tools and weaponry, executed the plan. He met Corey at his truck, brandished the gun, and directed him to drive to a secluded area devoid of surveillance cameras, where he cold-bloodedly shot him multiple times. Regarding the payment for the hit, it was agreed that it would be settled once the insurance money was collected. Michael revealed that the initial payment to David was only $275, which explained his frequent, anxious calls to Catherine, pressing her about fulfilling their financial commitment to David. In a desperate bid to hasten the insurance payout, Catherine pressured the insurance agent relentlessly, unaware that David was oblivious to the fact that his clients had already received and spent $100,000. With Catherine and Michael both under increasing pressure, detectives concocted another ruse to coax a confession from Catherine. They arranged for Michael to call her, falsely informing her of his release, hoping this would lure her into a trap. True to the detectives' expectations, Catherine ignored calls from the station but responded immediately to Michael's call. Believing Michael had been released, she hurried to the station, relieved and anticipating a positive turn of events. However, her relief quickly turned to dismay as she walked into an arrest, her mood shifting drastically as reality set in. Upon arrest, Catherine's carefully crafted Ukrainian accent faded, and she appeared visibly shaken and confused. Confronted with Michael's full confession, she attempted to deflect blame back onto him, accusing him of orchestrating the entire scheme and manipulating her into participation. Her claims found no traction. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Despite her protests, Catherine, along with her co-conspirators, was charged with first-degree murder. Faced with the gravity of their crimes, the prosecutor's office sought the death penalty for all involved, prompting the defendants to consider plea bargains in hopes of reducing their sentences. In February 2008, Michael Draven faced trial and was convicted of murder for hire, carjacking, and other charges, receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Following his sentencing, David Runyon was tried in the summer. He attempted to justify his actions by claiming Michael had portrayed Corey as a neglectful father, but his defense failed to mitigate the severity of his actions and he was sentenced to death. Catherine's trial concluded in November 2008. She received 4 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 20 years, confirming her role as the instigator of the tragic plot. The custody of her children, Catherine and Corey Jr., was granted to Corey's parents. Throughout the trial, Barbara Wilson expressed her profound grief and disbelief over the unimaginable outcome of her son's life. The tragic tale of Corey and Catherine ended in devastation, a stark reminder of the depths of human greed and the irreversible damage it can inflict. This case, a grim tableau of manipulation and murder, underscores the importance of vigilance against such vices from their inception, lest they escalate into irreparable consequences.